Sarah Martinez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she pushed the heavy cleaning cart down the narrow corridor of Naval Base San Diego. The wheels squeaked against the polished concrete floor, echoing through the empty hallway. At 23, she had been working as a civilian contractor for the base maintenance crew for 8 months now, and the early morning shifts still felt brutal. The Armory was her least favorite assignment. Located in the basement of Building C, it housed an impressive collection of weapons and equipment that made her uncomfortable. Sarah had grown up in a peaceful household where her mother taught kindergarten and her father worked as an accountant. Guns were foreign objects to her, representing a world she never imagined she would be close to. Another Monday, another dollar, she muttered to herself, fishing the access card from her uniform pocket. The red light on the scanner blinked twice before turning green with a soft beep. The heavy steel door clicked open, revealing rows of weapon racks and storage units bathed in harsh fluorescent lighting. Sarah had developed a routine over the months. First, she would clean the floors, working her way systematically from left to right. Then, she would dust the weapon displays and storage cabinets. Finally, she would sanitize the countertops and desk areas where personnel conducted their business. The work was methodical and quiet, which suited her preference for solitude. As she began mopping near the pistol display cases, Sarah noticed something unusual. One of the weapon racks appeared to have been disturbed. Several rifles were slightly out of alignment, and there were scuff marks on the floor nearby. She paused, wondering if she should report this to security. The base took weapon storage seriously, and any irregularities were supposed to be documented immediately. Before she could decide what to do, the armory door opened with a loud clang. Sarah jumped, her mop clattering against the metal rack. A tall figure in camouflage utilities entered, silhouetted against the bright hallway lights. As her eyes adjusted, she could see the distinctive Navy SEAL Trident insignia on his uniform. "Sorry, didn't mean to startle you," the man said, his voice deep and measured. "I'm Petty Officer First Class Jake Thompson. I need to conduct an inventory check." Sarah nodded nervously, stepping aside to give him access to the weapons. She had encountered various military personnel during her cleaning shifts, but SEALs were different. They carried themselves with a quiet confidence that was both impressive and intimidating. Jake moved through the armory with practiced efficiency, checking serial numbers against a tablet computer. Sarah tried to focus on her cleaning, but she found herself stealing glances at him. There was something methodical about the way he worked, inspecting each weapon with careful attention to detail. "You're here early," Jake commented without looking up from his tablet. "I start at 0500, Sarah replied. "Less people around makes the job easier." "Smart thinking." Jake moved to the section where Sarah had noticed the disturbance. He paused, examining the misaligned rifles more closely. "Did you notice anything unusual when you came in this morning?" Sarah hesitated. She didn't want to cause trouble, but the irregularities had bothered her. Those rifles looked like they might have been moved. The spacing seemed off compared to how they usually are. Jake's expression grew more serious. He photographed the rifle positions with his tablet and made several notes. "Good eye. Most people wouldn't notice something like that. Is everything okay?" Sarah asked, genuinely concerned. "Probably just someone being careless during Friday's inspection," Jake said, though his tone suggested he wasn't entirely convinced. "But we take any discrepancies seriously around here." Sarah resumed her cleaning while Jake continued his inventory. The armory fell into a comfortable quiet, broken only by the sound of her mop and the occasional beep from his tablet. Despite her initial nervousness, she found his presence oddly reassuring. "You been doing this job long?" Jake asked as he moved to check the ammunition storage. 8 months, Sarah replied. "It pays well, and the benefits are decent. Plus, I'm taking night classes at the community college." "What are you studying?" "Criminal justice. I want to become a police officer eventually." Sarah surprised herself by sharing this information. She usually kept her personal goals to herself. Jake looked up from his tablet with interest. "That's a solid career path. Good benefits, chance to serve the community. You thinking local police or maybe federal? Local for now. I grew up in this area, so I know the neighborhoods. I want to make a difference where I understand the community. Admirable goal. Jake completed his count of the pistol cases and moved toward the specialty weapons section. The law enforcement world needs more people who genuinely care about serving others. Sarah felt a flush of pride at his words. Validation from someone with his obvious experience and training meant something. She had doubted her career choice many times, especially when her friends questioned why she wanted such a dangerous job. As Jake worked his way through the inventory, Sarah noticed his attention to detail was extraordinary. He didn't just count weapons, he examined each one for signs of tampering or damage. When he found a rifle with a loose sight mount, he made detailed notes and photographed the issue from multiple angles. "Do you always check everything so thoroughly?" Sarah asked during a quiet moment. "Every weapon in this armory could save a life or take one," Jake replied simply. "There's no room for shortcuts when it comes to equipment reliability." His words carried weight that made Sarah reconsider her own approach to work. She had always been thorough with her cleaning, but his dedication to excellence was on another level entirely. Every task, no matter how routine, deserved complete attention and care. The morning sun was beginning to stream through the small basement windows when Jake finished his inventory. He had documented 3 minor discrepancies beyond the misaligned rifles, all of which required follow-up reports. "I'll need to file a comprehensive report about these issues," Jake said, securing his tablet in a protective case. "The misaligned rifles are definitely concerning, even if there's an innocent explanation." "Will there be an investigation?" Sarah asked. "Standard protocol requires it. Weapon security is taken very seriously here, as it should be." Jake paused at the door. "Your observation skills could be valuable in law enforcement. Keep developing that attention to detail." Sarah felt encouraged by his words as she watched him leave. The armory seemed quieter after his departure, but somehow less intimidating than before. His professional approach had shown her a different side of the military world, one focused on precision and responsibility rather than just power. As she finished cleaning the armory, Sarah reflected on their conversation. Jake had treated her as an equal despite their different roles and backgrounds. He had listened to her observations and taken them seriously, which was more respect than she often received from other base personnel. The rest of her shift passed uneventfully as she moved on to clean other areas of the building. But her mind kept returning to the morning's encounter. There was something about Jake's dedication and professionalism that inspired her to approach her own work with greater purpose. When her shift ended at noon, Sarah gathered her cleaning supplies and headed toward the exit. The base was now bustling with activity as the normal workday got underway. Marines and sailors moved purposefully between buildings, their uniforms crisp in the afternoon sun. As she loaded her cart into the maintenance vehicle, Sarah spotted Jake across the parking lot talking with several other SEALs. Even from a distance, his bearing was unmistakable. She wondered what kind of training and experiences had shaped him into the professional she had met that morning. Driving home to her small apartment, Sarah found herself thinking about her future differently. Jake's words about law enforcement had reinforced her conviction that she was on the right path. More importantly, his example had shown her that excellence wasn't about the job title or uniform, but about the attitude and care brought to any task. That evening, as she studied for her criminal justice exam, Sarah's textbook took on new meaning. The chapters on attention to detail and thorough documentation reminded her of Jake's methodical approach to the weapons inventory. Perhaps her current job was more valuable preparation for her future career than she had realized. The encounter had lasted less than 2 hours, but it had shifted something in Sarah's perspective. She had always seen her cleaning job as temporary, something to endure until she could move on to her real career. Now she began to understand that every experience was an opportunity to develop the skills and mindset she would need as a police officer. As she closed her textbooks and prepared for bed, Sarah looked forward to her next shift. The armory was no longer just another room to clean, it was a place where she could continue practicing the observation skills that might someday help her serve and protect her community. 3 weeks had passed since Sarah's first encounter with Jake Thompson in the Armory. During that time, she had made cleaning the weapons storage area her priority assignment, arriving earlier each Monday morning to ensure she would be finished before other personnel needed access. Her supervisor had praised her dedication, not knowing the real reason behind her newfound enthusiasm for the job. The investigation into the misaligned rifles had concluded quietly. According to the official report, a junior petty officer had failed to properly secure the weapons after a routine cleaning. The sailor received additional training, and new protocols were implemented to prevent similar incidents. Sarah felt proud that her observation had contributed to improving base security, even if few people knew about her role. On this particular Tuesday morning, Sarah was surprised to find Jake already in the Armory when she arrived. He was standing near a large storage cabinet, examining what appeared to be specialized equipment she had never seen before. "Morning," he said without turning around. "Hope you don't mind the company. I have an early training session and needed to prep some gear." "Of course not," Sarah replied, though she felt that familiar nervousness return. "I can work around you." Jake was laying out various pieces of equipment on a clean table: night vision goggles, communication devices, and other items that looked like they belonged in a spy movie rather than a basement armory. Each piece was inspected carefully before being placed in an organized pattern. "Is that for a mission?" Sarah asked, then immediately regretted the question. She knew better than to inquire about military operations. "Training exercise," Jake answered simply. "We run scenarios constantly to stay sharp. Equipment checks are part of the routine." Sarah began her usual cleaning pattern, trying not to stare at the high-tech gear. The night vision goggles looked incredibly complex, with multiple lenses and adjustment knobs. She had seen similar devices in movies, but never up close. "These things must cost a fortune," she commented while dusting nearby shelves. "More than most people make in a year," Jake confirmed. "Which is why we take care of them like our lives depend on it." "In real situations, they often do." The weight of his words settled over the Armory. Sarah had always known that the base personnel deploy to dangerous places, but hearing it stated so matter-of-factly made the reality more immediate. The equipment around her wasn't just expensive hardware, it was life-saving technology. "Have you ever had to use this stuff in actual combat?" she asked quietly. Jake paused in his equipment check. "Several times. Afghanistan, Iraq, other places that don't make the news." His voice carried a hint of something Sarah couldn't quite identify, not sadness, exactly, but a kind of weight that came from experience. "That must be scary," Sarah said, then felt foolish for stating something so obvious. "Fear is normal," Jake replied thoughtfully. "The training teaches you to work through it. Equipment you can trust makes a big difference when things get intense." Sarah continued cleaning while Jake finished organizing his gear. The Armory felt different with him there, less like a storage room and more like the serious military facility it actually was. Every weapon and piece of equipment represented real-world applications that she had never truly considered. "Can I ask you something?" Sarah said during a quiet moment. "Shoot," Jake replied, then smiled slightly at his choice of words given their surroundings. "What made you want to become a SEAL?" "It seems like such an extreme commitment." Jake tested the battery on a communication device before answering. "I wanted to make a difference. There are bad people in the world doing terrible things to innocent folks. SEALs are trained to stop them when diplomacy isn't enough." His answer resonated with Sarah's own motivations for pursuing law enforcement. The desire to protect people and serve something larger than yourself seemed to be a common thread among those drawn to dangerous but important work. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Not the mission, never that. But the lifestyle takes a toll. Relationships are hard to maintain when you're gone for months at a time. Most of us struggle with balancing service and personal life." Sarah sensed there was more to his story but didn't press further. Instead, she focused on her cleaning while considering his words. She had assumed that heroes like SEALs had everything figured out, but Jake's honesty revealed that even elite warriors faced personal challenges. "What about you?" Jake asked while packing his gear into a specialized bag. Police work will have similar challenges. Long hours, dangerous situations, stress on relationships. You prepared for that? I think so, Sarah replied, though his question made her realize she hadn't considered all the implications. I don't have much of a personal life to complicate right now. School and work take up most of my time. That might actually be an advantage starting out. Gives you time to establish yourself professionally before adding other complications. Jake secured his equipment bag and moved toward the door, then stopped. Actually, there's something I wanted to discuss with you. The base is starting a civilian security awareness program. They're looking for observant people to help monitor for suspicious activities during routine work. Interested? Sarah felt a surge of excitement mixed with uncertainty. What would that involve? Basic training on what to look for, who to contact if you see something concerning, that sort of thing. Nothing dangerous, just being an extra set of eyes around the facility. The pay bump isn't huge, but it would look good on your police applications. The opportunity seemed almost too good to be true. Why are you recommending me? You proved you pay attention to details that matter. That rifle incident could have been nothing, but it also could have been something serious. We need people who notice things and aren't afraid to report them. Sarah felt honored by his confidence in her abilities. I would definitely be interested. I'll put in a word with the security chief. The next training class starts in 2 weeks. Jake adjusted his equipment bag on his shoulder. Fair warning though, once you're part of the program, you'll be held to higher standards. Background checks, regular evaluations, the whole 9 yards. I understand, Sarah replied, though the prospect was both exciting and intimidating. After Jake left for his training exercise, Sarah finished cleaning the armory with renewed purpose. The possibility of contributing more meaningfully to base security energized her. She had always felt like an outsider looking in at the important work happening around her. This program would give her a chance to be part of something significant. The rest of her shift flew by as Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. She imagined herself spotting suspicious activities, preventing security breaches, maybe even uncovering serious threats. The romantic scenarios were probably unrealistic, but the underlying opportunity was real and valuable. During her lunch break, Sarah researched security awareness programs online. Most seemed focused on corporate environments, but the principles were similar: observation, documentation, and communication. She discovered that many police departments valued candidates with security experience, viewing it as relevant preparation for law enforcement work. That evening, Sarah called her mother to share the news about the potential opportunity. That sounds wonderful, honey, her mother said warmly. Your father and I are so proud of how hard you're working toward your goals. I just hope I'm qualified for something like this, Sarah admitted. These are serious people with real expertise. I feel like I'm pretending to be more capable than I actually am. Nonsense, her mother replied firmly. That young man wouldn't have recommended you if he didn't think you could handle it. Trust his judgment and believe in yourself. Her mother's confidence helped settle Sarah's nerves somewhat. She had always been her own worst critic, doubting her abilities even when others recognized her potential. Perhaps it was time to start seeing herself the way people like Jake apparently saw her. Over the following days, Sarah found herself paying even closer attention to details around the base. She noticed patterns in personnel movement, identified security cameras and access points, and began thinking like someone responsible for facility protection. The mental exercise was engaging and educational. When Friday arrived, Sarah was cleaning offices in the administrative building when she spotted Jake in the hallway talking with a woman in civilian clothes. The woman appeared to be in her 40s, with short gray hair and the kind of confident bearing that suggested authority. Jake waved Sarah over when their conversation concluded. Sarah, I'd like you to meet Lieutenant Commander Patricia Hayes, our base security chief. Ms. Martinez, the commander said with a firm handshake. Petty Officer Thompson has told me about your observational skills. I understand you're interested in our security awareness program. Yes, ma'am, Sarah replied, hoping her nervousness didn't show. The program is voluntary but demanding. We expect participants to maintain the highest standards of reliability and discretion. Are you prepared for that level of responsibility? I believe so, ma'am. Commander Hayes studied Sarah for a moment before nodding. Training begins Monday morning at 0800 in conference room B. Don't be late. As the commander walked away, Jake smiled at Sarah's obvious excitement. Congratulations. You're about to become part of something important. Sarah thanked him profusely, but Jake waved off her gratitude. Just do good work and prove my recommendation was sound. The weekend passed slowly as Sarah prepared for the training program. She researched security protocols, studied base layouts, and even practiced taking detailed notes about her observations. The opportunity felt like a crucial step toward her law enforcement goals, and she was determined to excel. Sunday evening, as she laid out her clothes for the next morning, Sarah reflected on how much her life had changed since that first encounter with Jake in the Armory. What had started as a routine cleaning job was evolving into something that could shape her entire career path. The nervous excitement reminded her of her first day at the base 8 months earlier. But, this time, instead of feeling like an outsider trying to fit in, Sarah felt like someone who belonged and had something valuable to contribute. The transition from invisible cleaning lady to security team member seemed almost too good to be true. Yet as she thought about Jake's confidence in her abilities and Commander Hayes' willingness to accept her into the program, Sarah began to believe that maybe she really was capable of more than she had imagined. Tomorrow would be the first day of a new chapter in her journey toward becoming the police officer she dreamed of being. The security awareness training exceeded all of Sarah's expectations. Commander Hayes ran the program with military precision, covering everything from threat recognition to proper reporting procedures. Sarah found herself in a class with 12 other civilians who worked various jobs around the base: cafeteria workers, maintenance staff, administrative assistants, and supply clerks. Your regular duties give you access to areas and information that trained security personnel might not notice, Commander Hayes explained on the first day. You see patterns, routines, and changes that could indicate security concerns. This program will teach you what to look for and how to respond appropriately. The training covered suspicious behavior indicators, photography restrictions, unusual questioning by visitors, and signs of possible insider threats. Sarah absorbed every detail, taking comprehensive notes that she reviewed each evening. The material was fascinating and directly relevant to her criminal justice studies. Jake occasionally assisted with the training sessions, sharing real-world examples of security breaches and their consequences. His stories brought gravity to lessons that might otherwise seem theoretical. When he described a situation where alert civilian contractors had prevented a serious security incident at another base, Sarah understood the importance of their role. Vigilance isn't paranoia, Jake told the class during one session. It's professional awareness. You're not looking for monsters under every bed, but you are maintaining conscious attention to your environment and the people in it. After 2 weeks of intensive training, Sarah passed the program requirements with the highest score in her class. Commander Hayes personally congratulated her and issued an identification badge that authorized access to additional areas of the base. The small plastic card represented a significant achievement in Sarah's journey. Her new responsibilities included reporting any unusual activities, maintaining awareness of facility vulnerabilities, and serving as a liaison between civilian workers and security personnel. The role came with a modest pay increase and, more importantly, recognition as a trusted member of the base community. Sarah's first real test came 3 weeks into her security duties. While cleaning the administrative offices early one Thursday morning, she noticed that someone had been working late in the personnel records room. Coffee cups and food wrappers suggested an extended session, but what concerned her was that none of the materials had been properly secured. Sensitive personnel files were scattered across multiple desks, computer screens were still logged into classified systems, and several file cabinets stood open. The scene suggested either extreme carelessness or possible unauthorized access. Sarah documented everything with her camera phone and immediately called the security hotline. Within minutes, base security arrived to investigate. Master Chief Rodriguez, the head of security operations, personally responded to Sarah's report. He was a stocky man with graying hair who commanded respect through quiet competence rather than loud authority. "Show me exactly what you observed," Master Chief Rodriguez instructed. Sarah walked him through the personnel office, pointing out the unsecured files and open computer systems. She had been careful not to touch anything, preserving the scene exactly as she had found it. Her training had emphasized the importance of documenting without disturbing potential evidence. "This is exactly the kind of situation we need reported," Master Chief Rodriguez said after completing his initial assessment. "Whether this was carelessness or something more serious, it represents a significant security breach." The investigation revealed that a civilian personnel specialist had been working late to complete an urgent project and had fallen asleep at her desk around 2 in the morning. When she woke up at 4:30, she had panicked about being late for a medical appointment and had rushed out without properly securing her work area. The specialist received a formal reprimand and additional security training. While the incident turned out to be accidental rather than malicious, it demonstrated vulnerabilities in after-hours security procedures that needed to be addressed. Sarah's prompt reporting had prevented a bad situation from becoming worse. "Good work," Jake told Sarah when he heard about the incident. "That specialist made honest mistakes, but those mistakes could have had serious consequences if left unaddressed." Word of Sarah's effective handling of the security breach spread through the appropriate channels. Her reputation as a reliable and observant team member grew, leading to additional responsibilities and opportunities for professional development. The base security team began consulting her about civilian contractor protocols and security awareness improvements. Sarah's academic performance also improved as her real-world experience enhanced her understanding of criminal justice concepts. Professors noticed her enhanced contributions to class discussions, particularly when topics related to institutional security and threat assessment came up. Her unique perspective as someone working inside a secure facility added depth to theoretical discussions. The relationship between her day job and evening studies created a positive feedback loop. Classroom learning informed her security work, while practical experience made academic concepts more meaningful. Sarah began to see how her current position was providing invaluable preparation for her future law enforcement career. During this period, Sarah's interactions with Jake evolved from casual encounters to professional collaboration. He often sought her input on security matters affecting civilian contractors, and she found herself serving as an unofficial liaison between the security team and the broader civilian workforce. "You have good instincts for this work," Jake told her during one of their consultations. "Have you considered federal law enforcement instead of local police? The skills you're developing here would transfer well to agencies like the Naval Criminal Investigative Service." The suggestion intrigued Sarah. She had always assumed her path led to local police work, but Jake's perspective opened up possibilities she hadn't considered. Federal agencies offered different challenges and opportunities, though they also required higher qualifications and more extensive background checks. "I hadn't really thought about federal work," Sarah admitted. "It seems like such a big leap from where I am now." "Maybe not as big as you think," Jake replied. "You're already working in a federal facility, handling security responsibilities, and demonstrating the kind of judgment and reliability that agencies look for. The experience you're gaining here could be exactly what sets you apart from other candidates." That evening, Sarah researched federal law enforcement careers online. The Naval Criminal Investigative Service, Federal Bureau of Investigation, and Drug Enforcement Administration all had interesting mission profiles that aligned with her interests. The work seemed more complex and far-reaching than local police duties, though also more demanding. Sarah's mother noticed her daughter's increased confidence and enthusiasm during their weekly phone calls. "You sound different, honey. More sure of yourself somehow." "I feel different," Sarah said. "For the first time, I feel like I'm doing work that really matters. People are depending on me, and I'm actually capable of meeting their expectations." Her mother's pride was evident in her voice. "Your father and I always knew you had it in you. We're just happy you're finally seeing what we've always seen." The validation from both her family and her professional colleagues gave Sarah courage to set higher goals for herself. She began researching four-year criminal justice programs at regional universities, considering whether she should transfer from community college to pursue a bachelor's degree. Jake supported her academic ambitions when she mentioned them during one of their conversations. Education is always a good investment, especially in law enforcement. Agencies are looking for people who can think critically and communicate effectively. A four-year degree demonstrates both commitment and capability. Sarah's supervisor in the maintenance department also noticed her increased engagement and professionalism. Although he didn't know about her security role, he could see that something had changed in her approach to work. Her attention to detail had always been good, but now it seemed driven by genuine investment in quality rather than just completing assigned tasks. "I don't know what's gotten into you lately," her supervisor commented during Sarah's quarterly review, "but whatever it is, keep it up. Your work quality has always been solid, but now it's exceptional." The feedback reinforced Sarah's growing confidence in her abilities. She was succeeding in an environment that demanded high standards, earning respect from people whose judgment she valued. The shy, uncertain young woman who had started cleaning the base 8 months earlier was evolving into someone who belonged in professional, responsible roles. One afternoon in late November, Sarah was called to Commander Hayes' office for what she assumed would be a routine check-in about the security awareness program. Instead, she found Jake waiting with the commander, both wearing serious expressions that made her nervous. "Please sit down, Ms. Martinez," Commander Hayes said formally. "We have a proposition for you that could significantly impact your career trajectory." Sarah's heart rate increased as she took the offered chair. The formal tone suggested something important was about to be discussed, though she couldn't imagine what it might be. "The base is implementing a new security initiative," Jake explained. "We're creating a specialized civilian security coordinator position that would oversee contractor security awareness, serve as liaison between civilian and military security personnel, and help develop improved protocols for facility protection." Sarah listened carefully, trying to understand where the conversation was heading. Commander Hayes continued the explanation. "This position would be full-time, with significantly better compensation than your current role. It would also provide excellent experience for someone pursuing a law enforcement career. We think you would be an ideal candidate." The offer was more than Sarah had dared to hope for. A position specifically designed around security work would provide invaluable experience while supporting her financially through college. It seemed almost too good to be true. "What would be required of me?" Sarah asked, trying to maintain professional composure despite her excitement. "Additional security clearance processing, expanded training in threat assessment and emergency response, and a formal commitment to the position for at least 2 years, Commander Hayes replied. The role would also require occasional travel to other bases to help implement similar programs. Sarah's mind raced through the implications. The position would accelerate her professional development while providing financial stability. The travel component would broaden her experience and potentially create networking opportunities with other law enforcement professionals. "I'm very interested," Sarah said carefully, "but I would need to understand how this would affect my college plans." "The base has a tuition assistance program for full-time civilian employees," Jake said with a slight smile. "You could continue your education while gaining hands-on experience in exactly the field you want to enter." The opportunity seemed perfect, almost suspiciously so. Sarah wondered what she had done to deserve such an advancement, especially when she still felt relatively new to security work. "Why me?" she asked directly. "There must be other people with more experience who would be interested." Commander Hayes exchanged a look with Jake before answering. "Experience can be gained, but judgment and character are harder to develop. You've demonstrated both in everything you've done since joining the Security Awareness Program. We need someone who can earn the trust of civilian workers while maintaining the standards required for facility security." Sarah felt overwhelmed by their confidence in her abilities, but also honored by the opportunity they were offering. The position would transform her from someone working toward a career to someone already building one. "When would you need an answer?" she asked. "Take the weekend to think it over," Commander Hayes said. "This is a significant decision that should be made carefully." If you're interested, we'll begin the clearance process next week. As Sarah left the commander's office, her mind whirled with possibilities and questions. The opportunity was exactly what she needed to advance her career goals, but it also represented a major commitment to a path she was still learning to navigate. That evening, she called her parents to discuss the offer. Their excitement and pride were unmistakable, though they also emphasized the importance of making a thoughtful decision. "Trust your instincts, honey," her mother said. "You've shown excellent judgment so far. We'll support whatever decision you make." Sarah spent the weekend weighing her options, but deep down, she already knew what her answer would be. The position offered everything she had been working toward: meaningful work, professional development, financial stability, and educational support. More importantly, it represented recognition of her potential by people whose judgment she respected. Monday morning couldn't come soon enough. Sarah arrived at Commander Hayes's office Monday morning with her decision made and her confidence solidified. The weekend of reflection had convinced her that this opportunity represented exactly the kind of break she had been working toward. When she accepted the position officially, the handshakes and congratulations felt like validation of everything she had accomplished over the past year. The transition from maintenance worker to security coordinator happened faster than Sarah had expected. Within 2 weeks, her security clearance was approved, her new office was assigned, and her training schedule was established. The office was small but professional, with a window overlooking the main gate and enough space for the files and equipment she would need. Jake had been assigned as her primary mentor during the transition period, which meant they worked closely together most days. Sarah appreciated his patient guidance as she learned the complexities of her new role. The work was challenging but engaging, requiring her to think strategically about security vulnerabilities while managing relationships with diverse groups of people. "The hardest part isn't learning the procedures," Jake explained during one of their training sessions. "It's earning credibility with people who might not initially take you seriously. Some folks will see you as just the cleaning lady who got promoted beyond her capabilities." His warning proved accurate. Several longtime civilian contractors questioned Sarah's qualifications for the position, wondering aloud why someone with so little experience had been chosen over more senior employees. The skepticism stung, but it also motivated Sarah to prove herself through excellence rather than explanations. Sarah's first major challenge came when she discovered discrepancies in contractor background check records. Several employees had been working with expired clearances, and the documentation trail suggested the problem had existed for months. The issue required delicate handling to avoid embarrassing the people responsible while ensuring compliance with security regulations. Working with Jake and Master Chief Rodriguez, Sarah developed a remediation plan that brought all contractor clearances up to current standards without disrupting base operations. The solution required weekend processing sessions and temporary duty reassignments, but it resolved the compliance issues efficiently and diplomatically. "Textbook problem solving," Master Chief Rodriguez told Sarah after the clearance issues were resolved. "You identified the problem clearly, developed practical solutions, and implemented them without creating unnecessary drama. That's exactly the kind of leadership this position requires." Sarah's success with the clearance issue established her credibility with both security personnel and civilian contractors. People began coming to her with questions and concerns, treating her as a legitimate authority rather than someone playing a role she hadn't earned. The respect was gratifying, but it also brought increased responsibility and pressure to maintain high standards. Her college coursework became more relevant as her security work expanded. Classes in constitutional law, criminal procedure, and organizational management directly applied to situations she encountered daily. Professors began using her experiences as case studies for class discussions, which helped other students understand practical applications of theoretical concepts. The base tuition assistance program allowed Sarah to transfer to San Diego State University and begin working toward a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. The 4-year program would take longer to complete while working full-time, but the enhanced credentials would open doors that might otherwise remain closed. Jake's own career was advancing as well. His exceptional performance evaluations and leadership potential had earned him selection for officer candidate school. The promotion would eventually take him away from the base, which meant Sarah would need to develop relationships with other security professionals. Change is constant in the military, Jake told her when he shared news of his upcoming officer training. The key is building systems and relationships that can function regardless of who's in charge. You've done that here, which is why this program will continue successfully after I'm gone. Sarah felt mixed emotions about Jake's departure. He had been instrumental in her professional development, and his confidence in her abilities had been crucial during her most uncertain moments. At the same time, his promotion represented the kind of career advancement she hoped to achieve in her own field. "I owe you a debt I can never repay," Sarah told Jake during one of their last working sessions together. "You took a chance on someone with no experience and helped me become someone I never thought I could be." "You don't owe me anything," Jake replied firmly. "You did the work and earned every opportunity you've received. I just pointed you in the right direction occasionally." Sarah's responsibilities expanded as the security coordinator program proved successful at her base. Other installations requested her assistance in implementing similar programs, which led to travel assignments and exposure to different security challenges. Each new base presented unique problems that enhanced her understanding of facility protection and threat assessment. During a week-long assignment at Naval Air Station North Island, Sarah worked with a team implementing contractor security awareness training for aviation maintenance personnel. The specialized environment required adapted procedures that accounted for flight line safety and aircraft security requirements. Her ability to modify standard protocols for unique situations impressed the senior security staff. "You have excellent instincts for this work," the North Island security chief told Sarah during her final briefing. "Have you considered applying for federal law enforcement positions? Your combination of security experience and educational background would make you a strong candidate." The suggestion echoed Jake's earlier advice about federal careers. Sarah had been focusing primarily on local police work, but her expanding experience was opening possibilities in agencies she had never seriously considered. The Naval Criminal Investigative Service, in particular, seemed like a natural progression from her current role. Sarah's confidence had grown dramatically over the 18 months since she first encountered Jake in the Armory. The shy young woman who had been intimidated by military personnel had evolved into someone who could hold her own in professional discussions with officers and senior enlisted personnel. Her opinions were sought and valued, her recommendations were implemented, and her leadership was recognized. The personal growth extended beyond her professional life. Sarah had developed friendships with colleagues, joined the base softball team, and even began dating a Marine sergeant she had met during a security training exercise. Her life had structure and purpose that had been missing during her early months as a cleaning contractor. When Jake completed his officer training and received his commission as an ensign, Sarah attended the ceremony along with other base personnel who had worked with him. Watching him accept his new rank and responsibilities reminded her of her own journey from civilian contractor to security professional. The transformation seemed almost impossible in retrospect, yet it had happened through consistent effort and willingness to embrace opportunities. "You started something that's become much bigger than either of us imagined," Ensign Thompson told Sarah at the reception following his commissioning ceremony. "The security coordinator program is being implemented at bases across the Pacific Fleet. You're part of something that's making real differences in national security." Sarah felt pride in contributing to something larger than her immediate job responsibilities. The work had evolved from personal career development into service that protected people and supported important missions. The sense of purpose was deeply satisfying and reinforced her commitment to law enforcement as a career path. As her second year in the security coordinator position progressed, Sarah began preparing applications for federal law enforcement agencies. Her experience, education, and performance evaluations created a strong candidate profile that generated interest from multiple agencies. The Naval Criminal Investigative Service offered her a position in their civilian investigator training program, while the Federal Bureau of Investigation invited her to apply for their special agent career track. The decision between agencies would be difficult, but having options represented a dramatic change from her early concerns about employability. Sarah's transformation from maintenance worker to sought-after security professional demonstrated what was possible when opportunity met preparation and determination. On a quiet Tuesday morning, exactly 2 years after her first encounter with Jake in the Armory, Sarah returned to the weapons storage facility for a routine inspection. The room looked exactly the same, but everything about her perspective had changed. She was no longer an outsider looking in at important work, she had become someone whose work was important. Standing among the weapons and equipment that had once intimidated her, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point. The scared young woman with a mop and bucket had evolved into a confident professional whose judgment was trusted and whose contributions mattered. The transformation hadn't been easy, but it had been worth every challenge and uncertainty. Her phone buzzed with a text message from Jake, now stationed in Virginia preparing for his next assignment. "Saw your name in the NCIS newsletter as one of their new hires. Knew you'd make the right choice. Proud of you." Sarah smiled as she read the message. She had indeed accepted the NCIS position, choosing investigation work that would allow her to continue protecting military personnel and facilities. The decision felt like a natural progression from her current role, though it would require relocating and learning entirely new skills. The armory door opened behind her, and a young civilian contractor entered with a cleaning cart. The woman looked nervous and uncertain, much like Sarah had been during her early days on the base. Sarah introduced herself and offered assistance, remembering how intimidating the military environment could seem to newcomers. "Is this your first week?" Sarah asked kindly. "Third day," the woman replied. "Everything here is so serious and official. I feel like I'm going to break something or mess up a security procedure." Sarah laughed gently. "I felt exactly the same way when I started. The key is paying attention and asking questions when you're unsure. The people here are professionals, but they're also human beings who understand that everyone starts somewhere." As Sarah left the armory, she thought about the cycles of opportunity and growth that defined military installations. New people constantly arrived seeking advancement and purpose, while others moved on to greater responsibilities. Her own journey was part of a larger pattern of service and development that strengthened both individuals and institutions. Walking across the base toward her office, Sarah felt grateful for the chance encounter that had changed her life's direction. Jake's willingness to recognize her potential and advocate for her advancement had opened doors she never knew existed. More importantly, his example had taught her the importance of helping others discover their own capabilities. Sarah's story was ending one chapter and beginning another, but the lessons and relationships formed at Naval Base San Diego would influence everything that followed. She had learned that excellence was possible in any role, that opportunities often came disguised as routine work, and that the most important qualifications for advancement were character and determination rather than credentials and connections. The young woman who had once cleaned weapons she feared to touch was now someone who would investigate crimes involving those same weapons. The transformation represented not just career advancement, but personal growth that had changed how she saw herself and her place in the world. As Sarah reached her office and began preparing for another day of meaningful work, she looked forward to whatever challenges and opportunities awaited her. The confidence and skills she had developed would serve her well in federal law enforcement, just as they had served her well in every role she had embraced since that first morning in the armory. Her journey from cleaning lady to criminal investigator was complete, but her story of service and growth was just beginning. The foundation built during her time as a security coordinator would support whatever heights she chose to reach in the future.